Let's talk about a reality that so many people avoid because it makes them uncomfortable, and that is women's nipples and the shocking truth behind how we see them, how we treat them, and what they actually mean. The reality is they are not simply a sexual body part, they are part of biology, part of survival, part of identity, and part of the everyday human experience. Yet for centuries society has decided to silence, shame, and sexualize something that is as natural as breathing. From the moment we are born, we rely on them for nourishment, for comfort, and for the first connection between mother and child, and then as we grow up, we are suddenly told they are indecent, they are private, they are something to be hidden. That contradiction alone should tell you everything about how distorted the conversation has become. We are trained to believe that a man's nipple is neutral, normal, unremarkable, and a woman's nipple is scandalous, shocking, and offensive, when in truth there is no biological reason for that double standard. Both men and women develop nipples in the womb before their bodies even know which sex they will become, and both have them for life, but culture decided that only one could be acceptable in public. That's not biology, that's conditioning, and the conditioning is so deep that most of us don't even question it until it is pointed out. What makes this even more revealing is the diversity that exists in reality. Women's nipples are not identical, not uniform, and not supposed to match some polished media standard. They come in all shapes, all colors, all sizes, some are small, some are large, some protrude outward, some are inverted inward, some change shades during hormonal shifts, some stretch during breastfeeding, and all of this is normal. They are as unique as fingerprints, and yet women are made to believe that unless theirs look like what is seen in movies, magazines, or filtered images online, they are somehow wrong or unattractive. That is a lie. That is the shocking reality. What is presented as normal in culture is not real life. Real life is variety, real life is uniqueness, real life is accepting that there is no one standard of beauty or worthiness when it comes to the human body. And then we have to talk about how this constant policing of women's nipples affects women emotionally and mentally. Imagine living in a body where something as small and natural as the outline of your chest through a shirt can create judgment, embarrassment, or unwanted attention. Imagine being told that breastfeeding in public is inappropriate when it is literally the most basic and life-giving act. Imagine being taught that your body has to be hidden for the comfort of others, as if the problem is you instead of the way people are conditioned to respond to you. That is the silent weight women carry every day, and the truth is the problem has never been the body itself, the problem is the story that culture tells about the body. The nipple is not the problem, shame is the problem, silence is the problem, the sexualization of something so natural is the problem. This is why talking about this matters, because awareness is the first step toward freedom. When women start to understand that their body is not indecent, that the differences in their nipples are not flaws but features, that the power they hold is not in hiding but in owning, something shifts. You stop asking permission to exist, you stop apologizing for what you look like, you stop feeling the need to explain yourself or adjust yourself for other people's comfort. That is where confidence begins, not from changing yourself to fit an unrealistic standard but from realizing that the standard itself was never real in the first place. And so the shocking reality about women's nipples is not just about anatomy, it's about society, it's about how rules were created to control, to shame, and to silence, and how those rules can be broken when we finally start to talk openly, honestly, and without judgment. It's about understanding that every single one of us started our life being comforted and fed by them, yet somewhere along the way the world told us to look away in embarrassment. It's about seeing the absurdity of the double standard and reclaiming the right to stand in your own skin without apology. The truth is women's nipples are not shocking at all, they are natural, powerful, diverse, and human. What is truly shocking is the way society has manipulated something so ordinary into something that carries so much shame. And the moment that realization lands, the moment you see the truth clearly, is the moment you start to take your body back from the lies you were handed. Women's nipples are natural and fundamental to life, and when you actually pause to think about that, it becomes clear how strange it is that such a basic part of the human body has been turned into a source of shame or controversy, because from the very beginning of life nipples have been essential. They are the first place a newborn goes to for nourishment, the first connection of intimacy, comfort, and survival between a mother and a child. They represent one of the most primal and universal bonds that every human shares, yet the way society talks about them, or more often refuses to talk about them, distorts that truth into something far removed from biology. Nipples are not optional accessories. They are not extras, they are part of human design, and in women they play a role that has sustained humanity for generations by providing food and nurturing comfort to infants. The natural reality of nipples is often ignored because culture focuses so much on their sexualization, but their existence is far more profound than that. They are present in every human being regardless of sex, which already tells you something important about their universality. In fact, nipples form before the body has even differentiated in the womb, which means they are a default part of being human. And while men's nipples are often overlooked or treated as insignificant, women's are elevated into something scandalous and forbidden, even though biologically both exist for the same reason. That contradiction shows how far we have drifted from simply accepting the body for what it is. When you strip away all the layers of stigma and cultural conditioning, what you are left with is the truth that women's nipples are natural, functional, and central to human survival. For countless generations, infants have relied on them as their first food source and their first emotional connection. Think about the fact that every adult alive today began their life by feeding from a nipple, yet the same society that once celebrated the nurturing role of women's bodies now places restrictions, judgment, and embarrassment around those very same parts. A mother breastfeeding in public faces shame and criticism when what she is doing is the most natural and necessary act imaginable. This contradiction doesn't come from nature, it comes from culture, and it highlights how disconnected we have become from the reality of our own biology. Beyond nourishment, nipples are also a natural part of identity and selfhood. They change and evolve throughout a woman's life. They shift during puberty, they transform through pregnancy and breastfeeding, they respond to hormonal changes, they age with the body. They are dynamic just like every other part of a living human being, and every change they go through tells a story about growth, transition, and resilience. Yet instead of being taught to honor these changes, women are taught to hide them or feel shame about them. Media and advertising reinforce a narrow image of what nipples should look like, while real life shows us that there is infinite diversity in size, color, shape, and sensitivity. The shocking reality for so many is that there is no single standard of normal. There never was. Normal is variety. And this is where the emotional impact begins, because when something as natural as nipples is constantly framed as indecent or scandalous, women internalize that message and begin to see their own bodies as wrong. Confidence is eroded not because of biology but because of the story society tells about biology. The outline of nipples under clothing becomes a source of anxiety, breastfeeding becomes a battleground of judgment, and even private moments of intimacy are shaped by insecurity, when in truth the body is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Nipples are natural, they are fundamental, and the shame tied to them is learned, not innate. When we remind ourselves that every one of us came into this world depending on them, that they have been at the center of survival, nurturing, and comfort for all of human history, and that they exist in every human body regardless of sex, it becomes impossible to deny their natural importance. They are not shocking, they are not wrong, they are not something to be hidden or apologized for. They are one of the most universal and life-sustaining aspects of the human body, and the fact that they have been distorted into something taboo only reflects how powerful cultural conditioning can be, because the truth is much simpler and much more human. Nipples are natural and fundamental to life. The double standard that sexualizes women's nipples is created by society, and this reality is so deeply woven into culture that most people rarely stop to question it, because when you look at the human body biologically, there is no difference in the purpose of nipples between men and women. They both develop in the womb before sex differentiation takes place. They are both structurally the same tissue, they both serve as sensitive points on the chest, yet the cultural meaning attached to them is completely different. Men's nipples are neutral, unremarkable, even invisible in everyday life, while women's nipples are seen as provocative, scandalous, and in need of covering or censoring. And this difference is not a matter of biology, it is a matter of social construction and cultural rules. This becomes obvious when you compare how men and women are treated in public settings. Men can take off their shirts at the beach while mowing the lawn or while working out at the gym, and nobody cares, nobody calls it inappropriate or indecent because the male chest has been normalized. But the moment a woman's nipple is visible, whether through clothing or in public breastfeeding or even accidentally, it becomes an issue. It is judged, it is sexualized, it is shamed or even policed by laws and regulations. This is the double standard in action, and it reveals how inconsistent the rules are. The body itself hasn't changed, only the meaning that society has placed upon it has changed.